Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm excited to kind of have here another session, the evolution of product adoption without losing human touch. And really, this is about making sure that you're kind of ready to go. And we have here a couple of folks, and I'm really excited about. Christine is the VP of Product and Design at User Flow. She has over 15 years of experience, held PMs, director roles, and now VP role. Really, she's just an amazing human being. We've chatted quite a few times, so thank you, Christine. And Katie here is senior product manager at Userflow, and they're gonna walk us through how to go from docs to embedded agent, and really how do you not lose that human touch, especially with AI. Lots of questions around tech, a lot of evals and AI agents. Is like there's still gotta have humans in there. So I'm gonna hand it off to Christine and Katie. And if you have questions, drop it in the chat and I will save it until the end. So I pass the floor to you, both of you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Romley, and thank you for having me on again and for allowing me to bring Katie along the journey this time. We're both very excited to take you through what we talked about just now, which is how we're evolving in this world, evolving product adoption without losing the human touch. Probably one of the hottest topics today. If you open up your LinkedIn feed, this is you're going to see a balance of AI this and human this, and so we're trying to figure out for our customers in particular, as we serve the product community and the growth communities, how we blend both of them. So first thing is a thank you to everybody for taking the time out of your day for being here. We really appreciate that. So we're going to cover what happened in the past, what was the evolution of in-app guidance, and where are we today. For some of you who are a little bit newer to the space, you may not even know some of the ways in which people were using or looking to get their product adoption going for their customers before. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about efficiency from agents, but really to what end? Efficiency is keyword. It kind of feels like AI and efficiency go hand in hand. And then a sneak peek into what we're doing here at Userflow with our adoption agent. So Katie will take you through that today. And we do want to close off with just a reminder and some hard facts around keeping a human in the loop, and that this is the best deployment model. So before I kick off, one of the things I do want to say is that we're all learning. And there are lots of people on this call who are either in very far in this journey in the AI agent building and deploying and all that stuff. But I also recognize from speaking with our customers and from being embedded within the community that there are so many people that are not yet there, that there are so many of us that are still trying to figure it out. So you've got different tiers. And I do think that's important to acknowledge before we dive into a conversation like this, because what I'm sensing across our community too is everybody feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome around, am I there? Am I moving fast enough? Is everybody going quicker than I am or my team is? Or the other opposite, which is like, I'm really fast and like some people are kind of getting left behind. There are people trying to figure it out. So I do want to level set with folks there. That being said, Katie and I spent a lot of time digging into some data from some really reputable sources to try to bring it to the table to have a healthy discussion today. So let's dive in a little bit. Let's do a pulse check on how many of you have actually deployed agents. Can you pop that in the chat? Yes or no? I'm not seeing messages wrongly, so I can't tell if anything's there from what I can see here, but
yeah, there's a bunch of we're getting a bunch of yeses here. Okay. Yes, yeah, a lot working on it.
Working on it.
Some no's, but it's a lot of yeses. I'd say 80% of yes and working on it.
Yes, locally trying. I love this. Okay, and this just validates what I just said, right? Like there are people who have done this, who are doing it, who are trying to do it, who are not doing it yet for whatever reason, and that's completely fine. And it's generally dependent on your customer base and their receptiveness to this type of engagement with your product as well, right? So that being said, let's go to the next question, which is who's actually been able to measure business outcomes from deploying those agents?
Oh, that's a good question. Been able to.
Ooh, working on it.
Working on it. That's the biggest challenge from Char's side. We can see it here. That's the biggest challenge. It really is kind of figuring that out. It's part of beta. Oh, somebody said yes, so that's cool. But I have to reduce a team and have building PRDs, and I have reduced. Okay, so they're measuring it by head count.
That's okay. Yeah.
Internal
Internal.
productive internal productivity outcomes with staff. So maybe less hours working on something.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Cool. Well, if others have measured this, I would love for you to share that. So again, everybody is taking a look to see what people are using as a measure of success here. Simplified internal processes with agents. It's a great one. Increasing productivity by 20%, 50% engagement finished only with AI. I can measure my own productivity, not at a company level yet. That's a great one. I feel like a lot of people are in that same stage today. Okay, so let's go into our thesis that Katy and I had going into this today, which is that everyone knows that they need agents, and every board is leaning into this same way, which is I can better manage costs by deploying AI. I can run the efficiency game. We can reduce headcount, right? And so that should not be the only goal or outcome that companies are driving towards. What Katy and I like to look at is a mindset shift, right? There should be a shift in focus on creating trust-based interactions, right? And so that today looks like for us, I can reduce repetitive tasks and deploy always on agents so I can take customers and our business to the next level. When you take wording like efficiency and headcount and you pivot it over to moving people into the next level, moving our customers and moving our team into the next level, that's the mindset shift that a lot of folks need to start to adopt. It's going to help them drive healthy engagement and drive healthy outcomes. Increasing velocity, doing more with less. I love that, Jagdish. Very good. So we're going to take you through what some of that looks like today. But I'm going to start with, for those of you who haven't been in the space for as long as someone like myself or Romley, like there was a day when there was static documentation, and that was the primary user guidance method, right? When I first started in product, I also managed a support team that was responsible for documentation. I mean, Word docs, right? Screenshots, things that were just shared out across an organization that people were saying, click here and do that. Very simple. And then we moved into the era in the 2010s where companies like ours were born, right? We introduced contextual tooltips and guided tours and helped with enhancing user interaction significantly. So it wasn't just a matter of onboarding and getting people into the product. It turned more into how do you have ongoing education and ongoing interactions with your customers to drive a better business outcome, but also to drive a better experience for your customers. And we all know that in the late 2010s, we saw that businesses were adopting more AI-powered chatbots. So both B2C and B2B models have adopted this really clearly. And you can do this anywhere, right? Like I can go on JetBlue's website and I'm using a chatbot to get me something. I can go on user flows and I'm using our agent to get me something. And today we're looking at this embedded adoption agent world, right? Where we have this proactive method of guiding people through and having things feel more personalized and in real time so that you're creating this connection with your user and with your customer base that helps them feel as if not only are you guiding them, but you're also learning who they are so that they can get a better experience at the end of the day. That's the world in which we're building. And apparently we're not building fast enough across our entire space, but everybody feels that we're not building fast enough. But again, go back to the chat. A lot of us are going through it at the same time. So it's a matter of teaching each other how to get there faster. So today, efficiency is this entry point, right? Efficiency is a given, right? So you have, I'm sorry, Katy, I think I took your slide. Katy was going to talk through this one.
Swiped.
I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier, which is that Katy and I are going to take you through some data, but I did want her to take you through a piece of data that she really fell in love with. Go ahead, Katy.
Yeah. No, I think just to continue that point, efficiency is 100% a given. I think that's one of the things that we hear most commonly as being chased from the deployment of these agents, especially into a customer-facing capacity. So like a stat here for you, PwC is reporting that over 60% of their customers are either deploying like an agent for customer success roles, or they're thinking about it, which is very much what we saw in the chat. Like we have agents, or we're thinking about it, we're trying, we're thinking, or we've done it. The efficiency gain is there. One of the big drivers of efficiency is how much can we divert those questions from hitting our customer success teams, our support teams, or even our support engineers or our engineers. And you do see that 60% increase across that being like getting to a person who could handle the question. So agents are able to do this. And if you go to the next slide, please. It's natural why this is happening. I mean, agents provide 24/7 availability, so you don't have to have a person manning the chat the entire time. A customer can ask a question, they can get an answer at any point. Also, agents are delivering personalized experiences now in those embedded situations. I think we all remember the early days of asking a chat a question and then it handing you back those documents that were like, your answer might be here. And you'd like go looking and the answer wouldn't be there, but you'd have to read through all of those documents to try and find it. Now the agent is able to give you a personalized response and then point you to more information or even give you the next step if you should need it. And then, of course, it's reducing repetitive tasks. So this is more on the internal side, but if any of you have ever had to explain to somebody how to reset their password 100 times in the past 24 hours, you know how soul-sucking that can be. So the removal of those repetitive tasks is something that the agents can take, and that's something that benefits the customer and your internal teams. And there's definitely a satisfaction benefit from this. The data shows that customers are more satisfied by having this always on personalized response. But one of the things that really surprised me and Christine that we want to point out is one of the benefits that, if you go to the next slide, please. Employee sentiment is up. It turns out when you don't have to tell people how to reset their password 100 times in 24 hours, you're happier. So one of the big benefits of deploying agents is that if you don't have to do that repetitive work, you can focus on the more strategic work that would make you more effective. It's more creative, it's more interesting. And so agents are not just a benefit for your customers, but they're also a benefit for your internal teams. And I'm sure that any of you who have deployed these agents internally are starting to see that, that benefit.
Yeah, I do. I want to hop in here before we go to the next slide and call back attention to some of the comments that we saw here, right, in the chat, which is simplifying internal processes and measuring your own productivity. This should solidify this point here that Katy just made, which is employee sentiment being up. So in addition to businesses really looking to invest in more agent-based help and more agent-based kind of onboarding and all this stuff that we're seeing today, a lot of folks are not focusing on the internal impact of it. And so I'd love for y'all to also make sure that you're measuring your success based on what's going on inside of your organization versus just the impact that it's having to customers. So just keep that in mind.
This is the first moment that we're going to talk through the human in the loop need. So the hybrid model as being the maximum benefit to deployment of an agent, especially for customer facing work. You can see here that one of the biggest incidents that comes from agents functioning incorrectly is a major impact to trust. So your reputational issues, like having reputational issues as a result of the agent performing badly. And so one of the ways that you can get ahead of this basically is having a human in the loop to oversee the agents and ensuring there's a consistent moment of feedback to those agents, monitoring what they're being trained on, monitoring what they're saying, monitoring how they're interacting with your customers, and making sure that the interactions they're having are actually producing beneficial results so that you can steer away from some of these negative outcomes from having an agent deployed. Because if we were to deploy the agents and not watch them, we open ourselves up to a ton of different moments of risk. Reputational being the biggest, but of course, data leakage, hallucinations, security incidents. There's a number of reasons to keep your human in the loop here. So we're going to pause and do a quick poll. Has anyone been able to measure sentiment so far of customer or employee?
You have a few folks saying not yet. Denise said customers, it's in progress. Kay, Jessica said no. Hillary said yes for employee. Some people said yes, customers hoping to. So there's also some folks that have said that that it's still a work in progress. Yes, but the challenge is filtering that sentiment and actually measuring it. I'm guessing this is what you're going to go towards. It's like getting all that sentiment is great, but now what is the question?
Yeah, 100%. Okay, I want to talk through two of the impacts of deploying agents that I think are not as talked about. And this is sort of the crux of our thesis, which is the hybrid model and redeploying those people into more strategic work. So this is going to be a benefit to your customers and to your internal teams. You'll see that, of course, in sentiment across both. But what is actually the value of having a hybrid model so that your agents take on more of the repetitive work, more of the always on question answering, personalized experience? When you deploy people into those more strategic functions, what happens? And I want to give you 2 stats because I would be a bad PM if I didn't give you stats to back up my thesis. First, Gartner took a look at when you have an agent deployed in the sales process, but the hybrid model. So there's a person that can be deployed to help you with your sales. Those buyers are 1.8 times more likely to complete a high quality deal. So what this looks like in practice is you have your site agents, you have marketing content, you have marketing assets. The customer can have a personalized, self-driven discovery process and research process, but then the person is deployed into the sales process to basically like give confidence that the deal is the right thing, talk through specific use cases, build that trust, build that human connection. And one of the things that they find that as a result of not just completing those high value deals, there's a reduction in buyer's remorse, which if any of you have PLG tools like we do, where the customer can, sign up for a month and then cancel if they have buyer's remorse, reducing buyer's remorse is key, right? Like that's going to absolutely improve your net revenue retention. It's going to improve your subscription length. So making sure that if there is a person that could be deployed at some point in that hybrid process, that it is focused on that higher tier, more strategic work of building trust, answering questions, and having more complex conversations. And then I want to talk through a stat a little bit more oriented towards post-sale. McKinsey was looking at some of the top drivers of basically company valuation and saw that a lot of the top valued companies had really high net revenue retention rates. So then they said, okay, well, what do we find correlated with high net revenue retention? And one of the top drivers of net revenue retention was a person that could be deployed to speak with customers about value, about the strategic value that they're trying to get out of onboarding, about the value that they are going to be gathering from the product. Are they getting that value? We're talking like quarterly business reviews. We're talking about strategic conversations about what other value could be gained from the conversation. So again, this is not, how do I reset my password? This is how do we ensure that you are getting the most value from our company possible? And then through that process, building trust, building loyalty with the brand. And so just again, to put a point on that, redeploying those people who were previously doing this repetitive work that can be now done by agents, that's going to help you build your competitive moat by building that brand loyalty, building that trust, and also tackling more complex use cases that the agents can't do. And Christine, I'm not sure if there's anything you wanted to add there.
Sorry, coming off mute. No, underscoring it. I mean, I do think there's a bit of this that we're starting to see across our customer base as well. They are confirming that when they are moving people over to more strategic conversations, that it seems like their customers are building more trust. They feel like there's a little bit more of a partnership versus a relationship as a vendor with them. And I think that that's something that that can very quickly get lost if we're deploying things to deploy it for sake of efficiency and speed versus really strategically spending that time or taking that time and spending it strategically to redeploying these people into different roles or to newer focus areas to help grow the business. So love this one. I think this was our favorite 2 stats that we came across. So thank you. All right, Katie, back to you on user flow.
Okay, so how are we doing this at user flow? If you didn't know, maybe you do, we do have an adoption agent, which can be deployed either on your website or in your app to provide that contextual support on demand. It's 24/7. It's all the stuff that we mentioned 24/7. It's, can be trained on your resources to give your customers very specific personalized answers. Where we're headed is giving, I think a lot of you said, how do we measure that sentiment? And we're launching analytics that give you sentiment tracking. It shows you which of the, how many people rated the conversation well or poorly. It tells you what topics come up the most often. So if you're a product manager or a customer success manager or a support person and want to know, where are my customers getting confused? What are the use cases they wish existed? That's all there. And the statistics coming from that chat. And then also recommending flows. So if the customer has a question, not just answering the question in a personalized way, but actually guiding them through the platform so that they can accomplish the task in that personalized way. So that's where we're headed. And the value there is, lost it. Number one, of course, we're giving you time back. You can have those more strategic conversations like we mentioned. So the more repetitive "how do I" is answered in an exceedingly personalized way. We're giving you the data to be more productive about how you are deploying those agents, what you're having them do, what kind of experiences they can be deployed to have with the customer. And then, of course, helping you increase trust with your customer so that those experiences are high value, but then they're leaving the door open for that person in the loop to come through and have the strategic conversations. And so we're really practicing what we preach by our product roadmap and our internal teams at Userflow, which I'm proud to say.
Yeah, and I will say that across our team, and Katy said we're about to give you is tomorrow. So Adoption Agent Insights is coming out tomorrow, and then the ability to recommend flows is also going to be packaged with this. And so one of the things that we started to see, obviously, we dog food as product people and as a company building product for product people. So across our own support team and customer success team, we've been using this for a bit as we were building it out. And yeah, it's been really cool to see that we're getting some data coming back from, most common questions or most common asked things from our customers. And then using that data, we have a new head of CS, Billy, who just started, and he's been working with our team on, hey, like this looks like there's an uptick here. Potentially we need to, include a new flow, right? That guided user flow is something that that our customers are loving. They deploy many of them, but at the same time, you want to deploy the right ones. And so being able to call the right flows while your users are looking for help is a really important thing. So it's either, do you change the flow or do you need to change the product? And so going back to the strategic aspect or freeing up people to do the right things, our CSMs and our product team are having different conversations today, which is really great. It's around the data that they're getting from these conversations that they're seeing come in through our own agent. So really love to see this being in use, and we're excited to see what our customers make of it as well. Cool. I will finish up. Yeah, Katy? We hit it faster than we thought. So we're going to just underscore what we're saying, right? Keeping a human in the loop for us is the winning formula. And we're seeing this across our customer base as well. So it really leads to enhancing the efficiency. So giving your agents the ability to handle repeat questions compresses that time to value, right? So you can definitely measure that way. And you're also able to effectively scale support coverage without scaling headcount in that sense. Data-driven decisions, I just mentioned, really important to us as product people, especially people building product for product people. Our teams are able to get data on where users are struggling and get there before they churn. And so they proactively reach out and they say, hey, like, is this something that we can help talk through? Is there something going on your side where your workflow shifted that we might need to help reorient how you're using Userflow today and get you to a different state with us? And these conversations are also feeding into our roadmap prioritization. And I just mentioned again our strategic partnership that we started building more closely with our CS team recently. So we've been able to create tight partnerships with our CS team as the product team here. And that helps us keep human judgment in the loop for what matters most. Katy runs this awesome meeting every other week called the Product Pulse. And what's been nice is our customer success team will bring an insight. So they'll bring insights either from their conversations with customers or from our agent and saying like, hey, this is a theme that we're seeing. Can we talk about this as a team? So not only is our product team giving them information on what's coming, but they're coming to us and saying, here's something that we think we should discuss together more frequently or right now. And then that ultimately gives us the time back to focus our energy on more high value and proactive work. So thank you for your time, and we can take some questions or comments right now.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Christine and Katy, for really kind of what I heard was we still need humans. I know with all the talk about AI, like the importance of humans in the loop is critical there, and that's one of the question that was brought up was around this notion of customer success and agent augmented with agents. Is that what you were talking about earlier, where I believe it's like handing it off to the right. Is that what you're using user flow for your own right now, or is that something where you're kind of seeing this going?
Katie, do you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the example we gave where you have the like onboarding being the perfect example. So you have the agent to, how do I answering questions like how do I or where can I find, and then guiding you to that specific area of your platform and walking you through the steps even to, your perfect like completion moment. And then so like taking care of those repetitive sort of consistent flows, and then having your customer success agent come in and say, um, I have a few more higher tier use cases that you might want to consider, or let's make sure that you're really getting the success, the driving the outcomes from implementing these flows or implementing these use cases that we expected. So I would say that's like the 1-2 punch of having the repetitive agent task and then having your strategic customer success person. Let me know if that answers the question.
That makes sense. I got that there. Questions around when is it the right time to, and this is from Alex. Any insight on having the agent take the wheel on an issue? If someone says, I want to search on X, should they be instructed on how to do it or have search filters applied for them already?
Yeah, I love that question. I think I go back to what I mentioned earlier on knowing your user base as well, right? Like I think every type of user is different, and who you're serving as your core customer, their receptiveness to the amount of automation and AI that you're putting into your product is something that you should be keeping front and center. So for us, it's going to start with what I mentioned earlier, which is deploying the guides that our own users are creating for their end users to continue to build that trust and say, okay, we know you're stuck somewhere. We're going to serve this up to you. I do think that there's a moment that we're going to have to take a look at that end user data and determine whether that's going to be more useful for both sets of users that we're serving. But I don't think it's out of the question. I do think it's a matter of really understanding the audience that you're serving.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Anything else to add, Katie, or should I? There's about a few more questions, so let me know.
No, let's keep going through.
Perfect. Question around, are you capturing implicit feedback in prompt or along with explicit feedback? If yes, how are you approaching this from a product perspective? Additionally, what architecture are you employing? High level, of course.
Yes, both. So for our adoption assistant, we're capturing the actual explicit feed. We're capturing and analyzing all of the qualitative data within the chats and serving that to you as topical insights, which is going to be launching, I think, tomorrow. And then we're also capturing quantitative data in terms of like the number of people that were liked or disliked the conversation. Also, which flows are recommended the most often. That's super helpful. So if you were to go on to sign up for a free, not to pitch user flow, but if you were to sign up for a free trial and then look at our assistant, it recommends you flows. And so we can see which flows people end up choosing the most often, which is so helpful because it's like, okay, this is where we need the most guidance. Maybe the experience could be better here if people have so many questions on how. Is it not intuitive? Or is that just the most common use case? If it's the most common use case, maybe we should be thinking about expanding our roadmap there. And in terms of architecture, this is internally built. I'm not sure if that was what was meant. But Stephen Doss, let me know. DM me.
Architecture are you employing? Yeah. So is it how it was about? That could be interesting. Sure. Awesome. Anything else that Christine, or that kind of covers? Awesome. I see you're nodding your head. Okay. I think this is going to be the final question around how do you balance 24/7 availability of agents and humans in the loop? Obviously, people are not working 24 hours like an agent. So do you have different time zones, or or it's like, oh, sorry, we don't have a human at this moment. We'll send an email or whatever. Like how are you approaching that or thinking about that?
Yeah, I'll start, and then Katie, I'd like to hear your take on it too. I mean, look, a lot depends. Obviously, if your business is global, right? Like, where are your operations? Do you have teams that are able to hop on really quickly and handle something in a certain time zone where that's coming in from? User Flow is a global business, right? And our support is covering probably 24/7, right, at this point. And so there's always someone to hop in and answer if you get stuck. But I will say that if you streamline, if you're able to set up your agent to deliver quality answers, let's use our product again, like quality flows that gets people unstuck, or point them to thought leadership or educational pieces that helps them think through how to measure something or how to do something, whatever your company's putting out. I think that that's the first step in making sure that you have some baseline level of satisfaction before somebody gets frustrated. And then you still have to have at some point, potentially depending on your business and your customer base, a level of automation where it's like, hey, we saw that you're, asked about this. Would you be interested in taking a call with our customer support team, right? And I think at that point, it's either you do a proactive outreach with your CS team. Let's just say the question came in from India, right, where we have a large presence, and then we have our CSM in the United States. Our team is managing time zones because we are a global business. And I do think you have to have that conversation internally to figure out how do you deploy those resources. Now that there's more hands-off answers coming out of your agent, how do you then reorient those people to be able to have the conversations real time? And it's, though we're global, you still are able to make that happen. I think that that's the way I would look at it. Set up your first line level of trust and get people to a comfort level to keep them wanting to talk about stuff, and then make sure that you have the human talking about it with them. Katie?
Yeah, I want to underscore the global component. Like, you should definitely be looking at your, the first step is just look at like your global presence and decide where people are, and then figure out coverage from that way. And then from there, Christine answered everything else beautifully.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Christine and Katie.